But I think we should have a say in what we want. And it's our education, right?
That's Olivia, a sixth grader from the How to Teach Us project, an 8-week-long project designed by math science teacher Brooke Tobia, who teaches at High Tech Middle North County. At the heart of it, it's students telling teachers how they best learn.
Our book is 100% student published and created, which is really awesome. One of my favorite parts is there's different chapters, and each chapter is based on a characteristics that our students have identified with. So the students came up with a list of characteristics within our class, and we had 60 students on our team. And so they said, this is the characteristic, although I have many, that I would most identify with. And so we had things like shy, or social, or hyperactive, slow working, and so they came up with these chapters.
You're going to hear from Olivia again, who self-identified as an overthinker.
When coming into this, I kind of thought, because we were just given a list of characteristics that we could choose from and what we identified with, and I was in there, and in my one group, I thought it was a really broad term. It is a really broad term, being an overthinker. And so I got to just learn more about my characteristic and realize that not only are you an overthinker, you can also be another characteristic. But I also found kids that I didn't even think would identify with being an overthinker were in that group. And I also made a couple new friends, so that was fun.
And then understood that they probably represent other students in other schools too. And so in the book, you're going to find an empathy piece first from those students from that characteristics perspective. So which I think is really great. So just reading that empathy piece and understanding the class clown and how they see themselves and what their intentions are in class and why they're doing the things that they're doing was a really cool look into the student's perspective.
This project was super heavy on researching and gathering and interviewing.
That's Guy McLaury. He teaches humanities, and he's Brooke's teaching partner on the project.
And then once we finished interviewing, it was a project. It was hands off. It was totally student driven. From the point of okay, you have all this information. Now we're going to compile it together. And sure, Toby and I facilitated these, tell them what we expected of them. But this project to me was completely unique because it was 90% student driven. The other 10% was just Miss Toby and I giving them some instructions on how to do it. So in order for me to talk about it, it's hard to talk about it because I don't really know how much there is that we've done besides just get them to understand how they learn,
And then following that empathy piece, you're going to see different strategies that are done in the classroom on an everyday basis. Things like note-taking or group work or peer-to-peer reading. And then based on that characteristics, we interviewed over 700 students in San Diego. And from that, collected the data and found the average of how much that characteristic enjoys that activity.
Here's Avery, another 6th grade student, talking about how they captured the interviews.
We got a little bit of a broader spectrum, and we asked them questions about calming classroom techniques they would do in their classrooms. Our questions were for each technique we would ask them as what type of student they were, outgoing or shy. How would they rate that task? If it was group work, a shy person might say, oh, I'd give that a 1 out of 5 stars. But an outgoing person, 5 out of 5 stars, it's so fun, I get to be with my friends. So, yeah, and then we use that information to make our book, How to Teach Us. Just talking about how to help teachers teach their students from the student's perspective.
Was there anything surprising or from that data that you guys collected?
Well, a lot of it was a bit surprising, yeah, because we noticed patterns that like I was saying, that the shy person doesn't like group work, but the outgoing person likes group work. It's kind of it was fun to see those patterns, because there was parts where it would be like, oh, they're very opposite on like some things, but with computer work, they both are like 5 stars. They love it a lot. So that I think that was the most surprising thing, that even though those are two characteristics are super different, they still like the same thing.
Can you give me like your thoughts on doing math and like statistics and data with like actual data that you guys collected? It wasn't just some random thing that your teacher assigned.
Yeah. When we were first doing it, I was like, wait, we're doing this for our book? What? And it was very difficult because we went over it like a lot. Like, it happened a bunch of times. Like, we had our data, we made giant big posters that we hung around like their classroom, and we found like averages for the star ratings of each category for each characteristic. But I remember that when we first did it, we messed up, so we had to do it over many times.
Is it also like a little more, I guess, real? Because it was real, right? You found real data.
Yeah. Like, other than doing like, it was kind of weird, like Mr. Pickles has blah blah blah, what, find the average. It was like these people actually have these averages, and it felt like you needed to do it. Like, you might be like, I don't want to find the averages of Mr. Pickles' white cats. I want to find this in like a real world situation. So it felt like it had more relevance. It had a lot more relevance in like what we were talking about. As outgoing people, we love to make friends and be near them in class. We are definitely extroverted people, and we love to express ourselves. Sometimes in class, we feel like we want to hang out with our friends or doodle when we are supposed to be paying attention. Encourage us outgoing people to express our creativity outside of class so we don't feel the need to doodle. For example, you may suggest drawing a picture to go along with our work so we feel like the work relates to us. Also, if we try to show you something, look at it and appreciate it. We are outgoing people and we love to learn.
An educator might look at this and just say, I have this one student who is kind of hard to reach and they're struggling in these areas, and I know that I do a lot of note-taking in my class, so what can I do? And this can be a tool for them. But also, it also has a survey in the back that we used to interview the students, so teachers can, it's a bit.ly, and so they can just look at that bit.ly, go and ask their students the same questions just to get to know their students better, which has been really great for us and our team.
A bit.ly is a condensed internet link that allows it to be more easily shared, and you can check out the link that Brooke is referring to in our show notes. Why do you think it's important for teachers to listen to students?
Well, we talked about this actually a lot, in that a lot of those students who are that teachers struggle to reach in classes, like they feel like they're not getting enough voice in the classroom. Feels like our classrooms like here and are just more successful when they have relevance to the student, like relevance to everyone in the classroom, more personal, like, and you can't get personal with a student if you don't know them. So.
And do you think that helps students learn better, or just feel like a place in class?
Feels like, like the place in class. Like, I feel like they will be more willing to learn. Like, they might, like, the slow person might not get any faster, but they might feel like, hey, I really want to get this work done. It's not just like, I'm slow, so I'm not going to do it. Like, if they know that student is slow, they're going to push them to do, like, have good life, like, in class, like, classroom life, so they can just easily complete their work at their own pace and just feel good about what they're doing.
Here's Olivia again explaining why you should get to know your students.
You should just get to know your students a little more, because like the only way to know how some person would like or how they want it or how they would learn best is through them and through talking to them. You don't want to just make assumptions about someone. So, I mean, it kind of just goes for also just like, it's kind of also like a metaphor for life.
One cool thing that came out of this project that Ms. Toby and I saw is that unlike other projects that we've both done in the past separately, our student engagement in this project was pretty high. It was like extremely high. And we attributed that to a couple of different factors. And yes, we were constantly reminding our students like, hey, this is a book that you are writing for educators. You're going to teach them how to teach you. And for a lot of the students, that was like a huge sticking point. That was like what was driving them. But for many of the other students, I think that what kept them going was just the fast-paced nature of this project. Because as with any project, like you got a deadline. You have to go out there. You got to teach them how to interview. You got to go out there. You got to interview. You got to come back in, take all those papers, sift through them, compile them, make sense of them, and then get together as a group, create the poster boards that become later on the pages. So everything, like, it was just extreme. There was never a dull moment in the project. And I think that that's kind of like what really had the students and kept them motivated. And every day they came in like, what are we doing today? What are we doing today? And I love that question, because they know that it's something new and exciting, and they're ready for it.
I think it might just be because, I mean, we are so young and we still are, students. And then there's the whole idea of, I mean, when you're older, you know more. And I mean, it's true. But I just don't think teachers, because a bunch of teachers, I think, have the mindset of kids, they don't know what's best for them. But I think we should have a say in what we want. And it's our education, right? So, this is how I want to learn how I want to have my education, and this is how I would have it best and how it would best affect me. Because not only is it just like also kind of, it's not only cool and kind of like a good way to have it, but it's also just a better way. Because, if a kid isn't interested in it, they won't really have as much passion, and usually the outcome won't be as good if they're not as interested in it. So
I think what was really great and simple and eye-opening to me as an educator after I saw all the data come together were the things that we do in our classroom, the simple things that we know, but it's just really nice to revisit, we should keep doing. And so we know this, right? This makes sense. It's not rocket science, but it made me kind of develop my lesson plans a little bit different and think about them differently instead of scaffolding them so much as like the beginning, middle, end. I'm kind of thinking about what part of this concept that this unit that I'm teaching, right? How am I reaching all of these modalities, these techniques? And if I am, looking at specific chapters in the book and saying, okay, well, this student typically struggles in these areas, or I think that they might not find this as much as engaging as possible. So looking at for tips coming from the kids, what I can do better. So I think that'd be a cool way to do it.
Yeah, what I'm hoping they get from the book is that like all students are different, that they come in all shapes, like categories, like they can fit into more than one, and I just want them to feel like I can make my classroom a better place. I can make it a more personal, like knowing my students, who they are, and like just make the classroom the best it can be. Like they can do that. Like we're just like a bunch of 6th grade students, and like they're like teachers who's been teaching for a long time. Like if we can do it, I'm sure like they can do it, kind of thing.
How to Teach Us is available now on Amazon. You can also find a link to the survey referenced by the students and Brooke in the show notes, along with a few other resources that may help you learn a little bit more about your students.